What's up, everyone? So if you've ever had a site that felt totally fine when it was small, and then the moment you start getting traffic, it suddenly slows down or even goes offline, that usually comes back to the hosting setup that you picked at the start. And in 2026, the difference between traditional hosting and cloud hosting is a lot bigger than most people think, because the way these systems handle speed, stability, and scaling is completely different behind the scenes. So in this video, I'm going to break down shared hosting, VPS, dedicated servers, and cloud hosting in a simple way that actually makes the trade-offs clear, so you can choose what fits your site right now and still have a good path as you grow. Quick heads up, I've put affiliate links in the description for everything we're covering. If you do use them, I earn a commission at no extra cost to you, which does help support the channel. So with shared hosting, your website is basically sitting on one physical server with a bunch of other websites at the same time, and everyone on that server is sharing the same pool of resources, things like CPU, RAM, and storage. And that's why shared hosting is usually the cheapest way to get online, and it's also why it's such a popular starting point for personal sites, small blogs, and brand new business sites that aren't expecting a lot of traffic right away. Now, the main downside is that you don't get much isolation from the other sites on the server. So if one of your neighbors suddenly gets a big traffic surge or something happens that causes their site to use a ton of resources, well, your site can slow down even though you didn't change anything on your end. And that's just where shared hosting can feel just a little clunky at times, because performance can be less predictable when the server gets busy. But the upside is that it's very low maintenance. The hosting company is usually taking care of the behind-the-scenes stuff like updates, security patching, and general server upkeep, which is a huge plus if you just want to build your site and not deal with server management. So overall, shared hosting is the low-cost, low-effort way to launch a site. And as long as you understand it's not really built for heavy traffic and you don't have a ton of room to grow before you'll want to step up to a stronger option. So VPS hosting is still on a physical server, but instead of everyone sharing one big pool like shared hosting, the server is split into separate virtual machines using a virtualization layer, usually handled by something called a hypervisor. And the practical difference is that your VPS gets a reserved slice of resources. So a set amount of CPU, RAM, and storage is assigned specifically to your site. And that's a huge plus because it makes performance a lot more consistent. If another customer on the same physical machine gets a traffic spike, your site is much less likely to slow down since your resources are more predictable. Now, VPS is also where you start getting a lot more control. Most plans give you root access so you can customize the server environment the way you want, install the software you need, adjust performance settings, and tighten security to match your site. However, there is still a ceiling because your VPS is ultimately tied to one physical machine. So when you do outgrow it, scaling usually means upgrading to a bigger VPS plan or migrating to a different setup rather than just scaling instantly in the background. So overall, VPS is that solid middle ground. It's a noticeable step up from shared hosting in both stability and control, without the cost of paying for an entire physical server just for yourself. Now, dedicated hosting is basically the top tier of the traditional hosting world because you're not sharing a server with other sites at all. You get the entire physical machine just for your site. And that's where you get the most raw performance, since there's no virtualization layer dividing resources and no other websites competing in the background. So if you are running a high traffic site, a large e-commerce store, or anything that needs heavier processing, dedicated hosting is built to handle that kind of workload more comfortably. Security can be a big reason people choose it as well. You're the only tenant on the server, so there's no cross-tenant risk, and you do have full control over how everything is configured, from the OS and firewall rules to caching, backups, and server-level tuning. But there are some trade-offs. It does cost more since you're paying for the full machine. Setup can take longer than shared hosting or VPS, and depending on the plan, you may be responsible for more of the server management. And even though it's powerful, it's still one server, so scaling usually means upgrading hardware or migrating to something bigger, which is not always quick. So overall, dedicated hosting is the maximum traditional option, highest control and performance, and it makes the most sense when you already know you need that level of horsepower and you're comfortable with the cost and management side of it. And if you want to check out what we're covering today, we have affiliate links in the description. Using these earns us a commission at no extra cost to you, which really helps support the channel. Now, cloud hosting is where things really change, because your site is not tied to one specific machine. It's running on a network of servers that work together like one system. And the main benefit is it removes that single point of failure you get with traditional hosting. So if one physical server has an issue, your site can be moved over to just a healthy node and stay online. And that's because your site's data and workload are spread across a cluster of virtual servers. And that built-in redundancy is why cloud hosting usually comes with stronger uptime targets and more reliable performance. The other big advantage is elasticity, which just means resources can scale up and down as demand changes. With traditional hosting, scaling usually means upgrading your plan or migrating to a bigger server, and that tends to happen after you already start feeling the limits. With cloud hosting, a traffic spike can trigger more processing power and memory automatically, and then it scales back down when things calm down. And when you are choosing between traditional hosting and cloud hosting, it helps to focus on what matters for most sites: speed, reliability, and how smooth growth is going to be. Speed matters a lot in 2026 because it affects user experience and how your pages perform in search. Cloud setups often have an advantage since they're designed to deliver content efficiently across regions, especially when paired with a solid CDN and modern storage. Traditional hosting can still be fast on a good VPS or dedicated server, but you're always working within the limits of one machine. Cloud hosting is built to keep things more consistent by spreading demand across infrastructure, so you're less likely to hit that sudden slowdown when traffic jumps. Now, security is another area where the difference shows up quickly because the responsibility shifts depending on the type of hosting. With traditional hosting, security is more tied to the server, and on a VPS or dedicated server, you usually get more control, but you also take on more responsibility. Things like hardening the setup, monitoring, staying on top of updates, and general maintenance. With cloud hosting, a lot of that is handled at the platform level, so redundancy, automatic failover, and managed security hardening are usually built in instead of being something that you have to piece together yourself. And then there's the money side. Shared hosting is still the cheapest way to start, and for a small site, it's totally fine. But as your site grows, the costs that really matter are downtime and dips and the hassle of migrating every time you hit a ceiling. That's where cloud hosting often makes more sense long term because it's designed to scale and stay resilient without constant big moves. Now, this is where Bluehost gets interesting in 2026 because they're aimed for a guided cloud-backed WordPress experience without you needing to get technical, just to end up with a fast, stable site. And on the entry-level side, their plans are beginner-friendly, and you get performance features earlier now, like NVMe storage, a built-in CDN, and managed WordPress updates. So if you are building a blog, a portfolio, service business site, or a basic WordPress site, the starter tiers are usually priced low on the first term, and you still get essentials like a free domain for the first year on eligible terms, plus SSL. Just keep in mind, intro pricing is promotional and renewals are higher. If you want to check out what we're covering today, we have affiliate links in the description. Using these earns us a commission at no extra cost to you, which really helps support the channel. Now, if you want something closer to a premium managed cloud platform, that's where Bluehost Cloud comes in. It's fully managed for WordPress with a 100% uptime, SLA, multi-regional fault tolerance, and automatic failover, plus NVMe storage and a Cloudflare Enterprise CDN for consistent performance as traffic grows. Their main tiers are Cloud 10, Cloud 25, and Cloud 50, starting at around $65, $140, and $230 a month. And each step up gives you more capacity for more sites and heavier traffic. If you are running an agency setup, a high traffic WordPress site, or an e-commerce store where speed and uptime are non-negotiable, well, that's the lane those plans are meant to cover. Now, another big reason that Bluehost works well for WordPress users is the onboarding side, because they include Wondersuite, which is an AI-powered setup experience built around WordPress. So instead of installing WordPress and landing on a blank dashboard, it can guide the setup, generate a starting layout, and give you tools like Wonder Blocks, which are pre-designed sections inside the block editor, so building pages feels a lot quicker. And if you want more hands-on help, there's also Pro Design Live as an add-on, which connects you with WordPress experts for design guidance and optimization right through the Bluehost dashboard. Now, pricing changes pretty often depending on the promo, so I'll leave the latest links in the description so you can see the lowest available price whenever you sign up. And it's also worth looking at what's included, because it can save you money in the first year. On eligible terms, you get a free domain for the first year, SSL is included, and depending on the plan, you'll also get extras like a built-in CDN and NVMe storage. And if you are moving from another host, they have a guided self-service WordPress migration option to make the switch smoother. Plus, you can add Yoast SEO through Bluehost, sometimes at a better rate than buying it separately. So the bigger picture in 2026 is that hosting is not really just about renting space on a server anymore. It's more about picking an ecosystem that keeps your site fast, keeps it stable, and makes it easier to build and maintain content without constantly dealing with the technical side. And that's where hosting starts to connect directly to conversion, because when a site loads quickly, stays online, and is easy to keep updated, people tend to stick around longer. They trust the experience more, and you usually get better results over time. So whether you're starting small on an entry-level plan or you're going straight to a managed cloud setup for WordPress, the main goal is choosing something that fits where your site is right now and still gives you a good path as you grow. And that wraps up today's video. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, then please like and subscribe to see more videos just like this. And don't forget, you can find the affiliate links for what we covered right below this video, and if you do use them, we earn a commission at no extra cost to you, which helps support the channel. Also, if you are interested in working with us or sponsoring a future video, just reach out using the email in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Finally, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.